All right, everybody. So we're gonna do a little bit of lefty drama, okay? This is a little bit more of a segment that was spurred by questions from the chat. But I've been able to basically accumulate some screenshots and some sources to what I have to say about this to help back up my reasoning here and give you guys a little bit of explanation to this, I suppose. So, for the last few days, I've noticed a lot of you guys in chat have been mentioning Lance from the Serfs. Some of you guys mention Lance positively, most of you guys mention Lance negatively if you're in my community, and when my fans were, speak very negatively about Lance from the Serfs, people who like him in my chat typically get, really defensive and confused. They don't know why we don't like him here, and are confused as to why I dislike him. So, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of backstory to this, and why I dislike Lance from the Serfs, okay? A little bit of a drama segment. I don't know how long this is going to be, but, it is also going to tie into some recent events that occurred as well. Anyway, so for those of you guys that don't know, for starters, I guess I should give you guys a little bit of background. If you aren't familiar with Thought Slime and Sophie from Mars, then I'm going to give you a little bit of lore. They're two prominent-ish progressive lefty figures who have both in the past, together, falsely accused me of having a sex cult where I supposedly groomed my fans into a harem of sex cult members, essentially. That was essentially the accusation, right? And Sophie from Mars and Thought Slime both claimed this, and they have to this day both doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled down on this, mass blocking anybody who asked them to take it back or apologize. So yeah, it really is just kind of disgusting behavior on their part. Lance is, of course, friends with both of these people. Pretty good friends, in fact. And not only that, another name that I'm sure plenty of you who've been watching me recently may be familiar with is Illuminati. I Illuminati, the particular I Illuminati the content creator who's currently gotten into a bunch of drama. Lance is good friends with her, and she recently did a not too dissimilar thing to what Thought Slime and Sophie from Mars did to me to another content creator called The Click. We actually covered this entire expansive drama involving Illuminati. She is objectively at every point of this drama in the wrong. She is just very evidently, going after people maliciously lying, and it's very transparent. Oh, here we go, lol. Oh, no. Aiden Blade. We've got either a Lance or an Illuminati or both simp in the chat. Oof. Rough. It'll be fun to see you coping in the chat, though. Anyway, Illuminati's basically gotten blown the fuck out because the Click ended up responding to her video where she tried to deflect the drama she was going through for attacking Legal Eagle falsely onto the Click and accused the Click of a bunch of really bad shit. The Click responded, disproving all of this, and then actually proved that Illuminati is literally Creepshow Art 2.0. She has an alt account that she was using to third person post about herself, talking about the drama. She had she was doing stalking and paying people to stalk his social media and stuff. It was really weird. She is a massive fucking weirdo. And the Serfs, Lance, made a video to defend her. And I believe the exact name of the video was Illuminati makes her response, and her receipts are wild, or some shit like that. They do a podcast together, so Lance is basically blindly defending her on everything here, and has also continued his friendship with Sophie from Mars and Thought Slime. So I think I think it's understandable why I take issue on a more personal level in that way. On top of that, from what I can tell, my understanding of why he said he doesn't like me, because way back in the day, people brought me up in his chat or something like that, and he said, I don't like Xanderhall. And I was, and that's how I learned that, like, Lance doesn't like me, because I assumed that he was chill with me up until then. But apparently the reason he gave for why he didn't like me is he claimed that I dead-named Blair White. And that just didn't happen. I don't even know what that's coming from. Like, I don't even know Blair White's dead name. I don't even know... yeah, this never happened. So, like, I guess a made-up thing that he heard on Twitter about me that he believed, I suppose. But yeah, and apparently, when he really started speaking out against me was when I had my debate with Lauren Southern, which I admit I could have done better on, especially in the end half of the debate. Here's the thing, though. Lance shit-talked me really hardcore for my debate with Lauren Southern, but then months later, he ended up debating Lauren Southern. And the unambiguous, unanimous consensus is that the Serfs did so much worse than I did. Like, Lance got fucking steamrolled in that debate, and it was a point of shame for him for a while. Like, it was bad, dude. And so I think he probably has a fair amount of resentment that, like, he like, jumped on me for doing, like, meh in my debate with Lauren Southern, but then did really bad in his debate with Lauren Southern himself right after. Anyway, now here's the thing. On top of that, I honestly don't even think Lance is that good of an advocate for the ideas that he advocates for, right? Like, I think he's just kind of bad at debating, and he's bad at speaking about these issues. He's had some bangers, I'll admit. His Twitter posts from time to time can be bangers, but, like, oh, he can miss hard. Apparently he had a debate with Tim Pool on his show recently, which is just, why? Why, Lance, would you ever do this? Why would you ever go on Tim Pool's show? I wouldn't even go on Tim Pool's show. I don't feel confident enough to be in the situation that Tim Pool puts his guests in for those debates, where he has, like, access to all of the resources he could need for bringing up anecdotes for his points and everything, and you don't have anything. You just have to, like, argue with what you got right there off the cuff, you know? Like, I'm not even confident enough in my skills as a debater to think I'm good enough to do that, you know? I feel like that would be presumptuous of me. But he recently debated Tim Pool, and apparently he did okay in some segments of it. And to be fair, I am going to show a clip of him doing okay. But first, we're going to look at the clips that make up a large proportion of this debate. So Heem actually did a thread about, like, his live viewing of this debate, and I'm going to read it to you guys and show you the clips that he took out and showed. I don't know if this is relevant to your point, but Vosh said Lance did really well. Zan, personally, I didn't feel that way at all. I will say that Vosh seems to have a soft spot for Lance that's probably not going to last very long after this video probably stirs up drama, because, like, Lance is, like, very defensive and friends with people who, like, have actively gone after Vosh and I and a bunch of other of our friends in some of the most disgusting ways possible. So yeah, I have a feeling that won't last very long. Anyway, basically, Heem made this thread. I'm genuinely cheering for him tonight, but the New York subway guy is a tough topic. Good job of pivoting to gun ownership and overrepresentation of mass shootings in the US. Oh no, Tim just trapped Lance into this weird qualification between 13,000 late-term abortions versus 13,000 gun deaths. Oh hell, Lance just said women should have full ability to abort a baby fully a healthy fetus at 9 months. Why bite this bullet? Tim's talking points are so fleshed out, Lance should have known. Holy shit, Lance just accidentally said he's not okay with a pregnant woman doing meth because she's intentionally killing the child. Tim Smirk says it all. Oh, Lance, no.
Moment after the child is outside of the birth canal,
Sure.
that they are now endowed with human rights.
Yes.
However, when they are inside of the mother, literally anything you do to them is acceptable because they're inside of the mother.
Oh, no, I don't think anything's acceptable, but I think the mother should still have the choice, ultimate authority over what happens to her body.
But there's a child inside her body.
Hold on.
And not
What
her.
about meth?
Like, should she be allowed to do meth?
Yeah.
I think if someone is doing meth while they're pregnant, that it is completely acceptable for something like I don't know what the name of the service is in the United States.
Child services?
I guess
Child
ECFS
services?
would be.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's her body, though.
Yeah, it's her body.
If she wants to do meth, what's the big deal?
The big deal is that she's intentionally trying to kill a child.
Oh my fucking god, dude. Okay, if I was in his position, the point I would make here is a mother who plans to carry a pregnancy all the way to term and actually give birth to their child who is actively using meth is, as we know, basically statistically guaranteed to have a child who is going to suffer from extreme, like, congenital issues due to, like, improper development. And that is not knowingly and maliciously killing a child, because that is like they can just bring, like, if you make that argument, they can bring that back to like abortion being knowingly killing a child. It is knowingly condemning your child who will be born to live an entire life that'll be of lower quality than the average person because you are so selfish that you want to continue consuming addictive substances. It is not the same as choosing to terminate a pregnancy to get an abortion, because no further suffering can occur at that point. But in the meth analogy, where you carry a pregnancy to term, you are condemning said child to a lifetime of a lesser quality of life than like a like non-drug baby, non-meth baby.
Hold on there a minute.
Meth doesn't always kill children. No, it doesn't always, but there's a very high chance that meth while pregnant will result in some pretty bad development issues.
Yeah, and I see where we're going.
I don't understand what you're saying.
But not death.
It's her body.
It's her body.
If she wants to do meth, what's the problem?
Well, first off, doing meth is illegal, period. Doesn't matter if you're doing it.
You believe that the moment
Oh my god, did he just finish it off with saying doing meth is illegal? Is that the argument he just made? That doing meth is illegal and that's why it's wrong? Oh my god. Law? What are you, a fucking liberal? That clip is pretty funny. Alright, here we go. Trans issues time. A tip to anyone doing debates and trying to pull up studies. If you've done your homework, you should have the DOI tag ready in hand so you can easily pull it up. Tim rejecting the concept of meta studies. Motherfucker said, give me one study. When discussing scientific studies, please don't bring up r/science. Crying emojis. This might be the most awkward podcast moment I've ever seen. Tim masterfully executes the trap. Oh no. Tim masterfully executes the trap?
You want to know what I think? I think there is a trans genocide.
Okay.
And I think it's you.
Okay.
Because you're sterilizing a lot of these people.
How so?
I mean, they're literally sterilizing them. The surgery to remove the gonads, hysterectomies, and puberty and cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers have a high rate of sterilization. I mean, first of all, removal of the gonads in the uterus is an absolute sterilization, and then puberty blockers have a very high rate, and cross-sex hormones have an extremely high rate of sterilizing the individual. So these.
Okay, immediately respond. Is giving a woman with cancer in her uterus a hysterectomy engaging in genocide or in a genocidal act towards her because you are sterilizing her, quote unquote? So this is stupid on several levels. For starters, being trans does not seem to be a genetic thing. Like, trans people, like if trans people don't have kids, that's not necessarily going to result in less trans people, because there's still a lot of cis people out there having kids that are going to be trans. And there's no, like, I have not seen any evidence that, like, there's a higher chance of a trans kid coming from a trans parent. Like, it doesn't seem to be like a genetic thing that's passed down by generation. But like, there have been trans twins though. That's the interesting thing. That's one of the things that makes me more inclined to believe there is a largely genetic psychological factor to gender dysphoria in some cases, is when you have twins who both have gender dysphoria. Yeah, the Matrix twins are a good example. Like twins who both have gender dysphoria, who are like especially identical twins, but it's like you developed in utero together. So like whatever it is that makes you trans happened to both of you probably. Like that's the mindset that I have, right? But enough with that sunlock. There is no evidence as far as I have seen that there is a higher likelihood of trans people having trans kids. So the idea that them getting elective surgeries that are being done by their choice in order to treat their mental anguish, the argument that that is sterilization, and thus that quote-unquote sterilization is connected to genocide is nothing but a blatant attempt at a gotcha. That is how Lance should respond. But apparently he falls for the trap.
These people can no longer reproduce. That's genocide.
Is this the joke you're going to go for?
Joke? You are removing these people's ability to reproduce.
This is concern trolling, by the way. What he's doing, he knows what he's doing right now. He's concern trolling.
If they're at a young age and they haven't had the ability, like for instance, Jazz Jennings can never have kids. Jazz Jennings also, and this probably part of your studies, can't actually feel any sexual feel.
Oh, on top of that, the argument that trans people getting bottom surgery and whatnot like actually like sterilizes them to the extent that like they can't have kids is actually not even true as well. You can freeze your eggs and your sperm before getting bottom surgery or a hysterectomy or whatever it may be, and you can still have a child that is genetically yours, and that is actually encouraged, like heavily encouraged for like trans people before they get particular surgeries and procedures. So like it's literally encouraged for them to preserve their eggs and sperm by doctors before getting those procedures so that they can still have kids in the future if they decide to. Even if they don't want to have kids, it's recommended that they do that just in case they change their mind.
Feeling of any kind.
Do you have any idea how weird this sounds right now? Like, why are you obsessing with a stranger's genital pleasure? That's so weird. That's so bizarre.
That was very weird yourself.
You guys are all weird.
No.
So I'm talking about adults who engage in activities
Lance literally can't engage. Like, he literally can't engage with it. It's wild.
which is a large portion of the global economy, whether you like it or not. Sex sells, they say. And when I say this person will never have this ability, you go, how weird is that?
Why can't Lance just go meta with it? Like, point out why it's wrong, and then, like, say, I see what you're trying to do, though. It's a clever attempt at a gotcha.
It's weird for you to fixate on a stranger's genital pleasure. That's strange. That's so bizarre.
Well, she's public about it.
But see, you're not making an argument right now, is my point.
I'm not. I'm saying it's weird. It's not an argument.
Yeah,
that's an observation.
So you're trying to make an appeal to emotion and an appeal to shame.
I'm just giving you my genuine thought when you say something like that. Like,
well, it was a really fucking pathetic attempt at trying to make an argument.
Why should we talk about that? Why should we discuss whether or not she has genital feeling? That's not important. It's not. It's not in my.
Yeah, Lance should have gone on the offensive like a minute ago.
My business.
So let's focus then on the sterilizing of the individual. Are you okay with that?
Who's sterilizing people?
Jazz Jennings is sterile.
Why are we going back to Jazz Jennings? I don't know anything
famous.
about her.
Because Jazz is a famous individual on cable television.
So if she is,
did Jazz Jennings voluntarily transition? Because voluntarily getting a procedure that you say sterilizes them, forced sterilization is genocidal. Voluntarily getting a procedure that has the side effect of sterilizing you is not genocidal because it's not forced on you.
sterile for whatever reason, what does that have to do with me?
Also, cis people sterilize themselves all the time to avoid children. Vasectomies, fucking birth control, for temporary sterilization. Like, we literally the argument that like this is the most blatant attempt at a gotcha, and there are a million ways Lance could have attacked it. That it's overwhelming and so frustrating that like I can't. Like, I wish I could like, you know that episode of SpongeBob where like Patrick controls SpongeBob for his driver's test? You guys know that one? I feel like if I did that for Lance, this would have gone better. Unironically.
Why does that concern me?
Do
Why
you
should I pass
support
legislation
the sterilization of teenagers?
This is such a weird way to frame this. Like,
you are removing teenagers' ability to have children.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not a doctor, Tim.
You
I don't have the
support
ability
it,
to do this.
right?
I support people having access to health care. Of course. Why would I want to prevent that just because some people have bigotry towards them?
Let's try again. You seem scared of this.
God, it's so easy to respond to as well. God, that is frustrating to watch. Quote unquote, what is a woman? An adult human female, he said confidently, not realizing the implication of his answer. Okay, is this a dub on... Do we actually get a dub on Lance's part here? I hope we actually get a dub on Lance's part here, because I can't... Listen, as much as I have some bad blood against Lance, mostly on part of stuff he's done, I still... I feel bad for him. I want him to pull one dub out of this.
1776's Life says, what is a woman?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yeah.
A woman is an adult human female.
Easy enough?
I agree with that.
So trans women are not women?
Oh,
Also,
they absolutely
I
are.
would answer that.
They're
What is a
adult
woman?
human females.
A woman is hot.
Trans women aren't female, they're male.
No, they're female.
So they have female gametes and whatnot?
Oh, this is actually very interesting. Do you want to talk about gametes? So in embryonic development, when you have two gametes, obviously the sperm.
Okay, maybe he's going to make a good argument here. It seems like he actually knows what he's talking about on this. So what I assume he's going to talk about right now is the determining of sexual development within the womb.
Of the egg, they combine, right? Usually it's the 23rd chromosome, the XX or the XY, that is going to determine whether or not someone becomes a male or a female. But that's not always the case. There are exceptions to this, known as people with differences of sexual development, DSDs, or intersex
yeah, okay.
people.
It's like
there could be other combinations.
017 or something?
It's
Okay, so Tim's trying to make the argument it's a very small portion of the population. You can attack this on 2 points. Not only does that percentage just sound small, but the total I believe the statistic was if you took all the people with DSDs in the world and put them into one country, it would be in the top 10 most populous countries in the world. So the sort of vague gesturing at, oh, but this is an insignificant quantity is bullshit. And then on top of that, the argument that there is only binary sex. And if you argue that there is only binary sex, that is all that there is, that is how it works, that is all that there is, period. And then I am able to bring up statistically existent examples of outliers from that supposed binary, those examples immediately destroy the perception of that binary. There is no binary if there is something other than those two options. A binary means one or the other. If any alternative exists, that binary doesn't exist anymore. That binary becomes what is called a bimodal distribution, which basically looks like two bell curves.
It's on a conservative estimate, 0.6% to 2% of the population. There is more intersex people in America than there are redheads. So there's a lot of intersex people, and
That's if you go with the 2%.
that's if you go with the 2%. Seamus is completely right, but I do.
Even if you go with the 1% estimate, the amount of DSD having people in the world combined in one country still in the top 10 most populous. That is not an insignificant amount of people.
I want to add one really interesting
But
thing
how
about
does that
this.
mean a female's a male?
So here's the neatest part. There are individuals who have XY chromosomes, which is normally what is going to be a male, right? You develop it. It's not the only factor, by the way. It's a push and pull with hormones and other stuff like that. But there are people who have XY chromosomes. So if you looked at their bones years into the future and you analyze them, they would be genetically male, but they have a specific condition that suppresses testosterone, which makes them develop 100% like women. We are all templates. We are all templates, and based on hormones, the expression of gender, and different factors, we turn in one direction or the other towards more male or more female.
Certain drugs don't affect men and women the same way?
Exactly, and that's the interesting thing. But we can hijack this entire process if we take hormones. So if we take this,
how much you want to bet those drugs have a very good chance of affecting trans women who've transitioned?
Testosterone or estrogen, we suddenly can have traits that are more feminine or masculine. The redistribution,
but it doesn't
of
change.
fat.
I mean, he did a pretty good job there, I'd say. One thing you have to remember though is that Tim Pool is like very well versed in propaganda. His entire show is just like going over anecdotal examples of things that are meant to back up his worldview. So like he'll just flood you with examples that you've never heard of that supposedly back up his story. And you may, go home and then research those examples and find out he was lying out his ass, but you didn't have the ability to research it there on the spot, so you lost the debate. Final thoughts from Heem. I'm seeing some people actually think Lance did well in this debate, and that tells you everything you need about internet fandoms and blindly being a partisan ideologue. Night, night. Oh, I'm liking and retweeting that one. That is a good fucking tweet from Heem there. Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of it. Yeah, I've seen a few people in the chat tonight who have been coping about Lance's performance in that debate and just about Lance in general. And I get that, like, I get it. I get that maybe you like him or whatever, but he's kind of a shitter, He's kind of a shitter. At least he has been towards me. So yeah, those are my reasons.